Welcome, panelists. Thank you for joining me today on this very important conversation. The fact that we've had a very difficult 2 years and we have educators such as yourself who have done a tremendous job in sustaining science instruction in your districts and ensure that all students are continuing to learn science while facing all the difficulties we've had. So thank you so much for joining us. What we hope to accomplish is share your stories with other science educators, both teachers, coaches, administrators, and help them understand that they are not alone in this journey and that there's much that you've done that might help them, might resonate with them. And with that, I would love for each one of you to introduce yourself. Start with Jolene.
Hi, my name is Jolene Roble. I coordinate the science program in A-Leaf. That would be for elementary and intermediate. And as far as grade levels are concerned, that would be kinder through grade 6.
And Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kelly Suarez, and I'm the elementary science coordinator for Northwest ISD. And we are northwest of Fort Worth, kind of surrounding Texas Motor Speedway area. We have about 20 campuses, and I work with kindergarten through 5th grade teachers.
And Tom.
I'm Tom Campsey. I am the science coordinator for Northeast Independent School District in San Antonio. I work with the K through 12 programs, and we have 45 elementaries, 14 middle schools, and 8 high schools.
Great, thank you. So we have a diverse panel here from the Houston area, San Antonio area, and the Dallas area. And Jolene and Kelly, you do elementary, and Tom, you do it all, K through 12.
I have
thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I would like to start with the fact that we've had a difficult couple of years, and I would love to hear from each one of you about what are some of the changes you've made to your practice that you feel have had a positive impact on students learning science. Jolene, you want to start?
Yeah, so as a district, we really took a big leap in crossing what we call as the digital divide. We were very intentional about bridging and removing barriers to digital inclusion. And what I really mean by that, it took a whole village. Our tech department, along with MIS, tech services, our district admin, and campus leadership teams, we really came together to ensure that our kids have access, all of our kids have access to a device and also access to the internet. So as far as delivering and designing instruction, leveraging the power of technology in making sure that materials and resources are accessible to kids. So that would be using our single sign-on platform, as well as our LMS and our online resources such as EduSmart.
Right.
Well, remote learning in our district was something that was new due to the shutdown in March of 2020. And as we were working through that, we had teachers recording science mini lessons every day and for all subject areas. And my teachers were just exhausted. So we were looking for high quality science instruction that we could provide the teachers to try to remove a little something off of their plate. I love my teachers and want to support them as best they can. And I just know at that point, even through the 2020-21 school year, my teachers were drowning and being overwhelmed, and I wanted to support in any way I could. So we went out and looked for resources that would support our teachers, but still provide quality instruction to our kiddos. And we found EduSmart, and we adopted that as one of our additional resources to our curriculum. And so we were able to use the digital components when kids were in the classroom, when kids were out of the classroom, as kids were out on quarantine and coming back, and those that chose remote learning all year, we were able to provide a constant support of science through the program.
Right.
And in our district, we had EduSmart before the pandemic, but what we were finding was teachers were primarily using the instructional modules in class, and they weren't using a lot of the stuff that could be pushed out and assigned to students. And during the spring of 2020, when we had our first initial shutdown, the decision was made that the synchronous instruction would be primarily reading and math, and science would be more asynchronous, and teachers needed the tools to do that. So a lot of our teachers discovered the resources in EduSmart for the first time as a result of the pandemic. And when they came back to in-person learning, and even when we came back in the fall of 2021 and had a soft open, we just found that the teachers were much more proficient at using those things, and we were able to provide training to get them into the classroom and using those things much more often.
Great. I'm glad you were all able to, navigate that, and sounds like some positive changes came that are going to sustain themselves. It's not going to go back to normal when we are all together. Great.
So Sandeep, to add to that one, the whole idea of personalizing learning in a way, that happened with us going into remote learning, like with us creating playlists for classes, for a small group of students, or even, assigning it to a particular student. That has been helpful in a way because teachers were able to, or we are able to customize learning materials for students. So that's also one of the positive outcomes, many of the positive outcomes with going into remote learning.
Great point.
Using EduSmart, sorry.
It's EduSmart and all of the other ecosystem that goes around it, right? And the fact that we were forced into that situation, we've kind of adapted and hopefully improved our processes for the future. Great. How about your leadership style? I'm curious. You influence a lot of teachers, their practice on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, you lost those opportunities for face-to-face. And besides, even before the pandemic, I felt that it was getting harder and harder to bring large groups of people together with all of the schedule difficulties, etc. So if each one of you could speak, to how is your style changed as leaders, that would be instructive to others.
Well, one of the things I'd like to share is we always have district initiatives that tie into all the products that we use, and across all of our content areas, we've really been working on the idea of learning progressions rather than standalone activities and standalone lesson plans. One of the things that's been great with EduSmart is the ability of going in and creating the playlists that we could say, look at the playlist, create your progression, make sure that the rigor of your lessons increase as the lesson progression is built. And it's just been a great tool for us.
In terms of leadership style changing, but like the question about leadership in general, like this question reminds me of the quote, like, you manage things, but you lead people. And throughout the whole process, I'm not sure if my leadership style changed, but I know I have been more mindful about leading with grace and compassion throughout the whole process, pre-post pandemic, for lack of a better term. And really listening to teachers, understanding the challenges that our science specialists and our teachers face with virtual learning and now in person, and then taking action to support or to help support them. So I know I've become very, very, very thoughtful about adjusting expectations, but never lowering the bar.
Right, moving on to the next question. Can you share some successful ways that you've been able to support your teachers this year? Again, with the challenges, anything you've done to support teachers that actually worked well for you?
One of the ways that we have supported our teachers is by looking at cross-curricularly, which is one of our district initiatives, and adding content and disciplinary literacy across all content areas. So we've provided multiple reading and writing opportunities within our science curriculum that also double dip into with our ELA curriculum, or at least coincide with some of the literary devices that they're studying at that time. So hopefully allows our teachers to use the same resources or similar resources in lesson they're planning. In addition to planning the curriculum, I have a curriculum writing team, and my curriculum writing team and I have developed playlists through EduSmart that we are then able to push out to our teachers to help their planning process, much like Tom had mentioned just a few minutes ago. and then using EduSmart for guest educators. So I don't know if everyone's district is like ours, but we've seen a substitute shortage. We call them guest educators in our district. And in that event where teachers all of a sudden have to go out and maybe out for extended periods of time, I know they often worry about lesson planning and they worry about the instruction and the quality of instruction that their students are getting. And there's been many a times that I've gone into classrooms to be the substitute teacher or the guest educator. And what was left were our EduSmart playlists for students with directions for classroom discussion, depending on the comfort level of the guest educator. So we really wanted to provide that opportunity for our guest educators, so it doesn't rely on their expertise, but relies on the expertise of the EduSmart program.
Thank you.
And along those lines, something that we really like about EduSmart is whenever a teacher is having a problem with an online resource, regardless of what it is, they sometimes don't really communicate what the problem they're having. One tool that we found super valuable in EduSmart is all of our administrators, which is myself and all of our specialists, we can log in as any teacher in the district through the admin panel. So whenever a teacher has reached out to us saying, I'm having trouble finding this, I don't know if I was assigned the right product, students aren't showing up in my classroom, we've been able to go in and verify that that was the case before we escalated it to the other people that need the support. We've also been able to use that for just-in-time professional development. The teacher wants to know how to do something. We jump into a Zoom, we log in as that teacher. So now the teacher's looking at her account, even though I'm sharing the screen. It's just been a great tool that we've been able to use with EduSmart.
Thank you. So as far as science instruction, I'd love for each one of you to share some of the things you've done, specifically to improve the quality of the science instruction. And we've talked about this before. We talked about, yes, we are looking for improvement, but in many cases we are looking to sustain. So I totally appreciate whether it's improvement or just an effort to sustain, but things that others could benefit about, how to keep science instruction at a high level.
We've always been big about hands-on science learning, really providing students the opportunity to engage in a hands-on experiment or hands-on investigation. So where EduSmart came in to help us sustain the program, the simulations that you guys have like on the portal was very, very helpful to support that. Or alongside that, like as a district, we were very intentional about providing our teachers materials where we didn't have simulation, or we asked our teachers to record a video of the investigation and walk their students through the discovery process. So our science center facilitator, along with our campus science specialists, were providing curbside pickup for teachers so they can get materials, to do the hands-on investigation, quote unquote, like virtually. So I hope to see more simulations on EduSmart, just in case.
All right. Point taken. Thank you. Kelly, you have anything to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So as you know, we have the state board has recently adopted new TEKS. And with those new TEKS came the science and engineering practices and recurring themes and concepts. And so knowing that was coming, I wanted to do a little light lifting at the beginning before I shock the teachers with all of our new standards that we're getting. So we really focused on introducing those recurring themes and concepts this year. At our fall district PLC, where we have members from every one of our elementary campuses gather, I introduced our recurring themes and concepts. We talked about each of those and discussed those, and as a group decided that we really wanted to focus on the recurring theme and concept of patterns this year. So we focused on where patterns are within science, where we see patterns highlighted in our curriculum, and we even made a connection with patterns to literacy. You can see a lot of my answers have literacy components in that, as that is a big district focus for us. But we looked at how patterns in science are relevant in ELA or in reading to genres. So the genre of different, say if you have science fiction, there are patterns within a story that tell you that this is science fiction, or there's a pattern within a mystery, or there's a pattern within a fable that tell you that each of those particular stories are a specific genre. So we really linked that connection for teachers within our curriculum so that as they're reading a fable in language arts, that they're talking about the patterns that are happening and they're using the word pattern. And then when they get to science and they might maybe studying Earth, and moon systems, they're talking about the pattern of the sun's apparent movement across the sky. So they're linking the word patterns and what a pattern is and what that means. And so we are really excited about that connection, and we will continue to explore those recurring themes and concepts next year. And we know that's on EduSmart's radar as well, to integrate that with the new TEKS. So we're excited to see how all that 3D learning comes together.
Right.
One of our district initiatives that we've brought on this last year, it's actually been a work in progress for the last 3 years, is getting teachers to write quality learning targets and really plan instruction around those learning targets. So it's not just thinking of, well, we've got the unit coming up on force and motion. It is, what are the students going to be able to know and be able to do with the force and motion concepts for that particular grade level? Getting teachers to think that way, we're asking them to make sure that they have those targets and success criteria figured out before they get into the process of looking for activities. And one of the things that's great about EduSmart is when you really go through the content library, you know, each of the items is named very well, but there's a brief description of what the students will know and be able to do in each one. So it makes it really easy for the teachers to connect target success criteria with the actual activities that are provided in the EduSmart platform.
All great answers. Really encouraged by, you know, what's going on at your districts, and very optimistic about the future, what we're going to see coming down. Excellent. Moving on to professional development, you know, so you alluded, Tom, to the fact that you're getting your teachers to look for targets or other things, whether, Kelly, you're doing that with your initiatives. How are you getting your message across? How are you really doing professional development in this new environment?
You know, one of the things, you know, we really do value teacher time. And one of the issues that we had pre-pandemic is we were bringing teachers together for face-to-face professional development that included travel time and things like that. Since we've moved to more either virtual professional development via Zoom, the thing we found we liked about that is it cuts out the travel time, but now the teachers are working in their environment. They have access to the materials that they really do have on a day-to-day basis. It helps them determine, you know, what is it that they have, what is it that they need, and they feel much more comfortable requesting what they need to actually do what we're recommending. The other thing that I wanted to share about this is our district tried to put together a lot of resources that were asynchronous professional development opportunities for teachers. We started making videos and stuff like that, and that was a lot of work on myself and our specialist teams. One of the things we love about EduSmart is the short little videos on the homepage. They've been created for us. We could just direct teachers to those instead of being something that we have to create in district. And that has been a great resource for us.
Okay.
In terms of improving teacher professional development, I think one of the things that we really focus on, or being like thoughtful and intentional about, is the whole idea of chunking information. Pre-pandemic, like, you know, we would bring, like Tom said, we would bring teachers together. We would offer them 3.5, 7-hour, you know, sessions. However, with us going into the virtual environment, we had to be very creative about ensuring that our teachers are getting the information, however, getting it in a chunked form. So chunking information is the strategy to deliver PD, and really doing it in bite-sized pieces. That way, we also increase learning retention. And then, like Tom also said providing synchronous, asynchronous, small group in-person PD opportunities for specialists and our teachers, and then creating how-to videos for them, screencasts and check-ins, as well as Q&A opportunities. So those were some of the avenues that we had to leverage in terms of improving or sustaining professional development.
Much like Jolene and Tom, our district has done some asynchronous PD, especially over the past few years, and we've moved some of our bigger trainings online, our New Teacher Academy, and we had some different independent teacher professional development that we offered that way. But we are back to in-person professional development this year, and our district sets aside 3 days, one in October, one in January, and one in March for district professional development for our teachers to get together. It's like one giant PLC. And as we got together this past January, I was really concerned with how to provide professional development for my teachers without them feeling like it was something additional, something new, something else we had to do. And so the curriculum writing team and I got together and we just discussed what do we need right now? What's the right now, and kind of like Jolene was talking, that bite-sized piece. What is it right now that we need to be able to implement when we see kiddos at, the next week, that will be the most beneficial? And so my curriculum writing team came up with kind of a curriculum preview day that highlighted literacy in our curriculum, that highlighted opportunities to write CERs, that highlighted opportunities for teachers to actually get in and do the lab, hands-on, experiment, build the Rube Goldberg machine, so that they understood kind of what pitfalls or problems that students may have. And then they were able to show them the EduSmart components that went along with these lessons. So, and push the playlist out to our teachers. So we are a fast growth district, and we have over 100 new teachers every year to our district, as well as teachers that are within the district that switch to a new grade level. So we really focused on supporting teachers through building their content knowledge and their understanding so that they felt more comfortable implementing it with students.
So I see a lot of commonality and yet some very creative ways you're each attacking this. Excellent. So, one of the things that has also become difficult is just being able to assess what the students know and don't know, and where your efforts need to be targeted. So through the challenges we've had recently, has that changed how you look at performance data for students or assessments for students, and has that changed your approach at all?
I'm not sure if it's changing an approach, but it's also paying attention to other forms of data. So making sure that the STAR test, the end of the year test, the district common assessments, but more than that, you could do, like within the phases of the 5E, have an exit ticket. You can have formative assessments, and even when you're watching an IM, you have the companion guides that go with it, and that is also data that you can collect. Are the students getting it? Do they have misconceptions? So paying attention to formative as well as summative data, I think was very helpful, and I think, I guess, really what I'm trying to say is there are many forms of data, and one data doesn't really, it's not the be all and end all. So I think that also, going back to your question, we have looked at all forms of data.
Great.
That still makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
And
Sure.
I would, just to elaborate on that too, our district doesn't have the Star Smart part of EduSmart, because our district is putting all of that data into an Eduphoria platform, which I know a lot of school districts are using. But the thing I really like about it is it helps our teachers see the stuff we put in Eduphoria is really meant to be summative or lagging data in terms of the students finish the unit. We're assessing how well we did as teachers. Now let's look at the data that we really need to really gauge student performance are those formative pieces. And EduSmart just has so many tools, the Word Explorer, the quizzes, some of the interactivities. The other end of it is with the STAR 2.0 that's coming out with the new item types. EduSmart has a lot of tools that kind of help kids practice the kind of thinking that's needed to be successful on those questions. They may not be a perfect model of the actual item types, but it's at least getting kids to think the way they need to think in order to answer those kinds of questions.
So this has been a great discussion, a great conversation. What advice could you offer other school districts that are, having similar difficulties as you've faced and the successes you've seen? Any advice I think would be appreciated. So I'd love to hear from each one of you on that.
I think together we can, that comes to mind. Like, there's like, well, it takes a village to raise a child. I think we have each other, knowing that we have each other. We have people within our school district that we can reach out to, people outside of our school district, such as this, that we can reach out to. And anything really that comes through, like, we can really do anything together, and everything is possible. So in terms of advice, I don't know if that's very broad. I don't know if I really have an advice, but just knowing that we have each other and together we can get through anything, I think is worth knowing.
Sure, that's a great message, Jillian.
I'm going to share something because I know that we're starting to transition. This school year is not over yet. We've got kids that have fallen way far behind just because of the conditions they've been in. I really think our school districts are going to face a lot of students that are in danger of failing, that are creating huge gaps as we close out the year. And I know in our district, we have 4 secondary courses where the kids get, it really is, if you fail your science class, there are consequences. I know in elementary, a lot of times it's like, we'll pass them as long as they do well in reading and math, but we actually do use EduSmart as course protection and course recovery in our secondary classrooms. Our district has invested a lot of money in another program. I probably shouldn't name it, but even though that's the one that we want our teachers to use, we think EduSmart's a better fit. It's more engaging for the kids, and that level of engagement is so important for those kids that already have gaps and have fallen far behind. Teachers are also able to gauge student success and get results with a lot less effort. The kinds of reports teachers can get about their kids, how they're progressing on things, makes it a lot easier to justify that the student has, mastered or at least met a proficiency level for what we need them to get through in those credit recovery situations.
Know if I have a lot of advice, but I kind of want to provide a pep talk. Teachers that I have talked to and principals that I've talked to just feel the weight and the pressure and the criticism that comes with being in education right now. And it's coming from every angle. It's coming from, well, the data doesn't show what we want it to show, or students aren't performing where they're supposed to be. The gaps are getting wider, or even social media. And I just want to provide a pep talk to teachers that focus on what is in your control. Not everything is in your control and in your circle of influence, but focus on what is. And so I'm starting with me. And so my focus has been be positive and find the joy. So find the joy in every situation. There's been times I've been in classrooms where, you have a kiddo that's just acting like you wish they wouldn't, and it's causing disruptions, but I'm going to find joy with that student. I'm going to find joy in the after school meeting that could have been an email, but I'm just looking for those small places to find the joy so that I remain positive and focus on what's most important, which is supporting my teachers and my teachers supporting their students.
Ditto.
Do something small every day to make an impact. That's my end.
We can all agree to that. That's a great message. Thank you. So, lastly, I'd love to hear from you. First of all, congratulations for keep staying optimistic, staying on the job, continuing to support your teachers and students. All of that Jillian so eloquently said, the sustaining is key in these times, and yet you have shared that you have great initiatives you're still looking to deploy and pursuing. So this is all great. what about next year? Anything you have planned for next year that you would like to share that gives us a sense of continuity that we're going to keep doing this no matter what?
One thing I can say is we've actually been an EduSmart user in each of the last 2 districts I've been in. So I haven't been without EduSmart for over 10 years. So I've seen the changes that have been made and the things that have really impacted the student learning. Our district currently has the licensing set up to where our teachers have access for grades K through 2. Our students have access for grades 3 through 5 or 3 through 8, and we haven't purchased the biology product. Because of the successes we've seen with the students interacting with EduSmart and seeing the interactive tools that you guys have built for the lower grades, the kids can actually interact with. You know, one of the reasons we didn't select to have that is we really felt like kids weren't really ready for the asynchronous kind of learning that goes along with those. And we've been convinced that that's something that those kids really need. The other thing is for the biology curriculum, we're really thinking about using it for the accelerated instruction for House Bill 4545. You know, we already have a curriculum with other resources for our core biology, but we really don't have a lot for that accelerated instruction. We think EduSmart would be a great fit for that. So those are some things we're looking to add next year.
Great.
Going to make a huge change for next year. We're going to kind of continue and beef up in some areas, but we're going to continue to integrate our resources like EduSmart within our curriculum that's written out and set for our teachers, as well as we're going to add some additional literacy components, both reading and reading through the EduSmart readers, and then also some trade books, and writing through the journal prompts that we have embedded in our curriculum, as well as the ones that EduSmart provides, and writing CER, so kind of a renewing a focus of our writing CER for student justification. And then we're going to continue learning about the recurring themes and concepts to get our teachers heading in the direction of that 3-dimensional learning we know is coming in 2024 by introducing, so we're going to continue with patterns, but we're going to introduce cause and effect next year.
That's a great one.
That's exciting. So for us, really like continuing and sustaining what we have in place. We're very big with like, you know, doing science, learning, hands-on learning. So learning science by doing science, focusing on that, as well as reading and writing. So the doing and the discussing in what Kelly mentioned about, you know, using CERs. But in looking forward to next year and the next couple of years, on top of continuing and sustaining, I'm actually very excited about the science and engineering practices that are now weaved into, you know, the new TEKS and then the recurring themes. So we're going to still looking into that as a leadership team and see where we can start introducing practices, science and engineering practices into our curriculum, and really delving deeper into, you know, the engineering design process, design thinking, and recurring themes like what Kelly said, and looking at it in a cross-curricular manner, like patterns, systems, like this is what it looks like in science. How does it look like in math and in social studies and reading and language arts? So I'm excited about that. And Sandeep, I hope to see what SEPs look like in the EduSmart portal, as well as recurring themes and concepts.
All right. So you've put a teaser out there, and yes, we are looking to do that. And I'm super excited that all of you have your eyes forward, looking, you know, for all the exciting things you're going to do next year, and not overly concerned about what we've had to deal with. And that's great because our kids need it. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm really hoping we can do this more often. And there's lots to talk about it. I'm privileged to be working with educators such as you. I've known each one of you a long time. Kelly, you relatively just 2 years, but I feel like I know you well. And Jolene and Tom, boy, 10 years, yeah. Time's flown. And you're a little rare, but yeah, right. And so thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll talk soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.